This is my favorite matchup in all of DCS, the F-16 Viper versus the F-15C Eagle. And the reason is, I feel like it's one of the most fair matchups, with either aircraft having an equal opportunity to win the fight if it sticks to its game plan. But what makes it my favorite is that each game plan is completely opposite. And before we get into this merge with this F-15, I like to look at the charts provided by Contact Light at DCS Dogfighters. This is one of my simple go-to charts, a fuel chart. By looking at this, we can quickly decide what our game plan needs to be, whether it be one circle or two circle. I always like to look at the maximum sustained turn rate first, because if your plane can win in the two circle, that's going to be the safest game plan. And if we look at the chart, the F-16 is just ahead of the F-15, and they're almost equal, but you can see at the starting fuel, the F-16 does have a pretty good advantage, and then it becomes less as they both lose fuel. But if we look at the maximum instantaneous turn rate, the F-15 is way up here and the F-16 is way down here, almost at the bottom, with the F-15 having a maximum instantaneous turn rate well over 30 and the F-16 just barely over 25. So the F-15 is going to blow us out of the water when it comes to the one circle, slamming on brakes quickly, going into a reverse, rolling scissor, or anything with high AOA. So the F-16's game plan is going to be forcing the two circle, and the F-15's game plan is going to be forcing the one circle. And that's why I love this matchup. The fighter that can execute their game plan better than the other will be the winner. So my default merge is normally about 550, and right as we hit the merge, I like to be in afterburner. Also notice as we merge, I'm already pulling 9Gs. I'm more flexible looking right, so I almost always look that way. I know his game plan's gonna be one circle, and most likely he'll try to take a shot at me, which he does off the first turn. And by staying fast, we go through his HUD very quickly, so making a high aspect shot very difficult to land for him, and he's probably a little bit slower for it. And this is why I like that 550 merge, because I can stay fast on the first turn and then use that speed to pull down to 400. I can hit 9Gs and then stay around 7. And I want to be around 7. If I get lower than that, I'll usually light off the stick. I say light, meaning a light pull or even just loosening my grip. I want to hold 7.5 Gs for a while because I want him to get further to the top of my screen to where the offset's more in my favor. I want his aspect to be as low as it can be before I decide to pull. So I might even build to like 440 at one point, because the F-15 is a very dangerous aircraft for the F-16. It can make the F-16 overshoot in one turn and then hit you with a shot as you go by. I've got pretty good speed and he's almost in the position that I like, with his aspect being a little bit lower. So I'm about to try to pull him into the HUD. Try to pull him all the way to the bottom part of the funnel, and that little circle is what we need to aim with. That's where the bullets are going to go. He does a good job of jinking, and see how he goes for the overshoot, and he's basically going to get it in one turn. We need to stay in afterburner, blow through the overshoot, avoid the oncoming shot. I feel like the biggest mistake people make in this situation is trying to win back the lost overshoot. So our game plan is to go around. He's inside our circle, so we'll have to avoid some of the shots. Just rolling the stick as I'm pulling is usually all I need to avoid a shot. Trying to watch him, but also hold my best rate speed. Being able to see his aspect here is very important as I jink another shot. As long as he's pulling, he's getting slower, and we're waiting for his aspect to change. And there it is. You see the top of his aircraft? That means he's finally out of energy, and now we're going to get aggressive and go after him. Normally I'm a vertical scan guy, but since it hasn't been working too good lately, I've switched over to using the helmet bore sight. And as we get to lock, I want to keep it about 380. I may even have to open the brakes just to slow down a little bit. As I go nose down, I might be getting a little bit too fast, but I also don't want to get too slow just in case I have to blow through another overshoot. I can tell he's setting up a reverse, and I'm slow enough to where he's going to stay out in front of me. He doesn't have a shot on me, but he will pass in front of my HUD. Unfortunately, we missed, so I'm back on the afterburner. We have to go around for a second time, but that was in the plan. I look back to make sure I turn the right way. I want this to be a two circle. I'm also watching him, and he looks a little bit slow. I could pull for a shot here and get nose on, but I don't want it to be a head on. So I'm gonna try to go around him, which does make me a little bit faster. When he takes a shot, which I will have to avoid, by just rolling the plane flat, I easily avoid it, I think. So I don't want to go straight up here, because if I go straight up, then he can point his nose straight up and probably hit some shots. When you're looking back at the bad guy as I jink another shot, the angle can be kind of difficult, but I like to stay just above the horizon and hold my rate turn. And as his aspect starts to change, my nose goes below the horizon, our angle gets more steep, and now we get aggressive. We've gone around twice and it's late in the fight, so we're lighter on fuel, meaning we can rate at a lower speed. At the start of 400, I can start pulling and maintain a lot of G's all the way down past 360. And while I'm pulling, I want to be closing the gap between us. My nose is under the horizon on the downward spiral, but I don't want the downward angle to be so steep that when I do make it to the deck transition, I then have to overcorrect and lose some of my angles. So if I can't see the aiming circle, I'll pull him down the funnel, start firing, and then keep pulling until I see flames. So we had to go through 2 overshoots and go around twice, and we avoided every single bullet that was shot at us, so I'm pretty proud of that one. Also thanks to Stinger for being a great guy and a great sport. Sometimes before the merge, I'll try to drift to one side or the other just to see how the player reacts. Then I'll turn back into him and try to time it so that I'm pulling the most amount of G's I can as we merge. We do want to make sure that this is a 2-circle, but I get such a good jump off the merge that this is going to set up a head-on. But we agreed earlier that we wouldn't do obvious head-ons. Both players have to get the gun on to be a head-on. Even if it's a very high aspect shot, if the other player can't get his nose on you, it's not a head-on. As I watch him go by, this is basically a remerge for me. He's going to pull hard to get a shot here. Notice his plane bobble as he loses energy. I wanted to put this back into a 2-circle, but it's kind of hard to find the re-entry angle as I do a slight roll and pull to avoid those shots. Now I'm going slightly nose down, but I want to flatten out and get my nose more toward the horizon and still be mindful in watching the shots that he's taking. I'm trying to hold my rate. We're watching his aircraft, waiting for the aspect to change, and then there it is, and now we get aggressive. And as I'm coming around the circle, I'm missing my old vertical scan. I'll talk about this later in the video, but as I'm using the bore sight on the helmet, I find myself reaching a little bit more than I'd like, trying to lock him. I got him locked, and now I'm going to try to cut him off. I'll try to drag the little circle across his aircraft. We get some hits, but it's not enough. As we look behind us, he's trying to push it into a 1-circle nose to nose. We're going to stay lag pursuit, try to keep our speed above 360, and no matter how he turns, we want to keep it in the 2-circle. So we're now in the downward spiral, and we want to make sure we don't lose any angles, but we also don't want to overspeed or underspeed. I think 360 is a good target number as we're spiraling down towards our deck transition. And I wanted to talk about how good vertical scan used to be and how much I used to rely on it. It used to be you could set it and forget it, and it would lock well before you needed to fire. I don't like how I'm reaching with the bore sight trying to get it to lock. Even if you do get a lock, I feel like it can give you a false sense of perception of where the hostile is in the circle. I actually had a little trick I used to have with the vertical scan in the past. I used it almost like a measuring stick. I would wait for vertical scan to get a lock, and then I would know exactly where the hostile was in the circle based on when I got that lock. So I know it's not a big deal for most people, but it kind of is a big deal for me because it throws off my timing. So getting back to this dogfight, he's in the perfect spot for me to go ahead and pull him in the hood. I start by just trying to pull him down the funnel, put him in the skinny part of the funnel, but he's a slippery guy. We only land 1 shot, and guess what? We gotta go around again. We don't come out of afterburner, we're gonna stay fast. It's kind of disheartening as I look behind me, but this is just the way it goes. I'll make sure to put it back in the 2-circle. So we're back on defense, so we can be a little faster than rate speed. So we're watching his aspect, and most likely, if you can see the bottom part of his plane, he's gonna fire. Keep the pull, but then level the wings right as the bullets come at you, and that should be enough to jink the shot. I can tell these bullets are gonna fall short, so not a whole lot of jinking. Those are really close. That almost hit me. Yeah, don't play around. Just make sure you jink those shots. There it is, again. His aspect just changed and we can see the top of his aircraft. And since I'm already almost at rate speed, I'm gonna come around on him even faster. Remember, the more someone shoots at you, the faster you'll be able to come around on them as soon as their aspect changes. I almost enjoy the F-15 taking shots at me like that. I almost invite it. It's become a fun game to me. So he's in position where I'm going to start trying to pull him into the hood. This is where I really try to focus, try to line his wings, both wings up inside the funnel. Most of the time you'll see the little circle, but sometimes they're under the hood and you can't quite see that little circle. So once again we come out unscathed, even after all that shooting at us. And that was a lot of bullets. Notice how I'm using my speed brakes before the merge, and if you're not using your speed brakes, you're really missing out. They really help me be precise and hit that number I want to on the merge. So if you've been paying attention, you know exactly how we're going to turn on this fight. We're at perfect rate speed, but it is a head-on, so we're just going to pretend that he's going to fire even though he's not. So I'm just gonna roll a little bit flat and pull up and watch him go by. I'm trying to watch his aspect and I end up going a little bit more vertical than I wanted to. So we're now in a 1 circle, which is his game plan. But it's still a head-on, so neither one of us fire. And as I watch him go by, I'm trying to think how I can fix this angle to put it back in a 2 circle. I'll try to go more to the left of him, not going to pull into him because that would be another head-on. He takes that opportunity to pull hard and take a shot at me as I go by, but I think him doing that is going to benefit me. He's going to dive down because he's very slow, and I'm not going to pull for the shot here. I'm going to continue flying past him because he can't pull the nose up on me and get a shot yet. So once he goes by, now I'm going to drop in behind him, try to stay on the same path that he was in, wait for my opportunity, and now I'm going to pull lead, try to time it so that as I roll, I pull the little circle across his aircraft, holding down the trigger. I get a good bit of damage, knocking off his left horizontal stabilizer, trying to keep my speed about 360, which is the low end of the rate band. I get a lock, he's very slow, I'm a very good rate speed, I pull him into the HUD and the shot is inevitable. He's a little bit slippery, but I get some good shots and his engine is on fire. So I want you to pay very close attention to what he does on the merge, because I think it's very smart. We're in a right-hand turn, he immediately reverses it back into the 1 circle. I reverse his reverse, so now I'm back in the 2 circle. If I'd have stayed in that right-hand turn, it would have been a 1 circle in his favor, so you don't always have to reverse into a 1 circle. Sometimes a reverse can be back into a 2 circle. He's pulling for a shot here, but he doesn't have it. He lost a lot of energy, so he'll go nose down to pick up some speed. I'll try to do my best to stay at rate speed. I should easily come around on him if I play my cards. I try to play smart and not go for the shot here. Also, if you pull for the shot while you're going down, there's a good chance you're going to overshoot. Anytime you pull for a shot against an F-15, there's a high probability that you're going to overshoot. So I want the odds to be high when I do pull for a shot. I'm going to land a significant amount of damage. I thought that was a pretty good amount of damage, and as I look behind me, he doesn't have the energy to point his nose up at me yet, so I'll put it back in the 2 circle and go around. Also, this round did go long. It ended up going to fuel, so I will cut out a little bit for time. I'm going to be hitting my 440 rate speed, pulling my 9Gs, but if you watch him, he's going to start to go almost pure vertical, trying to put it back into a 1 circle. He's going to push the rudder in very hard. He can't get his nose on me yet, but I'd only be helping him if I pulled for a shot here. I'll continue to fly up and to the right of his 6, so I'm going to have to be very careful on how I proceed with this turn. I'm trying to be very careful with my speed, always watching the numbers. You'll see me constantly make little adjustments with my throttle and the brakes. He sets up a reverse, but I've got the turning room, and I much prefer to take a shot while going up. I feel like it's just a much safer position. So I just missed, and unfortunately, we are going to have to go around again. So fast forward, I've come all the way around on him, but we're running out of time as my fuel's getting low, so I'm gonna have to take some shots. Unfortunately, we do run into some lag, so this is gonna make these shots that more difficult. That's a lot of shots that I just landed on him, and that's the second time I've landed a lot of shots. But now I need to try to find a safe place to position my aircraft so he can't get his nose on me. It's kind of hard to figure out where to point my nose. I think it's right here, but then I decide, you know what, I'll be able to take a shot at him, which I just miss. I know the fuel is getting very low, so if we're gonna make anything happen, it needs to be soon. I glance down at my ammo count and notice I am completely out of bullets. So this dogfight is over. So I decide I'll just try to safely stay behind him for the rest of the round and let it go to fuel. You win this time, F-15 damage model. I do avoid him for the rest of the round though, so I guess that's a win. At least a draw. So we're in the last round, and I think we've had a good dogfight with Stinger Arrow. He's a good sport. He's going to put me in a dangerous situation on this turn. I'm going to try to stay in the one circle, and I know he's going to take a shot at me, but I'm going to try to go under him and jink his shot. I'm going to try to lead turn into my next position. He does miss, and now we put it right back into the 2 circle where I wanted it. He got a little greedy there and pulled, if you saw that. Since he's already slow, he's going to reverse into the 1 circle. I'm going to roll flat, change my angle, and try to go up and over. I don't want to go straight up or he could follow me. So I'm in an awkward situation and try to get myself skinny. This is one of the most awkward positions for the F-16 versus the F-15. He is able to take shots at me, but I'm easily able to avoid him, and I know he's slow. I'm going to get more horizontal and hold my turn, and he's not going to have any energy to get his nose on me. Now it's just a matter of me raiding around the circle, and I predict he's going to go nose down and try to set up another 1 circle. Nope, he surprised me and went up to set up the reverse. Technically, I guess he still has to go nose down. He's now too slow to pull the nose up on me, and I've got a free shot. Unfortunately, I missed. And see how he rolls it back into a 1 circle? Well, I'm not going to pull into him. I'm just going to hold this position and let him slide in behind me. He's going to take some shots at me, which are not even going to be close. And I should be able to avoid any of his shots from here. Once I get a little bit higher, I'll go more horizontal. I'm going to drag out even more of his energy. I'm going to let him turn it into a 2 circle for me. I kind of laugh at his shots. I'm just going to stay up here, hold my turn, let him fire at me, let him drain all of his energy, wait for that aspect to change, and like I said before, there it is. And now we'll come around on him. This time I'm not going to be patient. I've had enough gun practice already today. I'm feeling confident, and even though the shot's going to be on the down, I'm going to take it. Thanks again to Stinger Arrow for being an all-around awesome guy. Hope you guys enjoyed the video, and thanks for watching.